Hi, it's Zena Krogadal, your American Dream Makers host. I am so excited. I've got Nick Lowery with me today, and he is totally an American Dream Maker. Oh my goodness. But first, let me play the intro video, and then we will get Nick on. Here we go. Hello. I am back and I've got Nick Lowery. What an amazing guy. He is a former professional American football player who achieved great success during his tenure with the NFL. And Nick developed a passion for football at a young age and eventually rose to become one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL history. With a remarkable career spanning over 18 seasons, Nick became synonymous with precision, reliability, and dedication to the sport. Throughout his time in the NFL, Nick Lowery showcased his exceptional kicking skills, setting records, earning numerous accolades along the way. And today he is celebrated not only for his athletic achievements, but also for contributions off the field as an advocate for charitable causes and he is a prominent figure in his community. So let's get started so we can hear all about it. Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, Zena. I get a little embarrassed when you read that stuff, but I have to tell you, when we met in Orlando, I loved the work we did there, and I just loved the chances to make a difference today. I've been doing work with the Border Patrol, and then yesterday was officially announced as the new brand ambassador for Alzheimer's Treatment Centers of America, which has the license for 95 years for the use of AI for cognitive impairment. And I'm not sure about you, but almost everybody I've talked to has a parent, has a friend, has a close friend, family member who has died from and suffered from Alzheimer's and dementia. My brother Chris died a little under 2 years ago from complications from Alzheimer's and dementia. My mother had dementia, and we have so much technology today to reorient the cultural fear of aging in such a way that we reduce the fear greatly with the idea, the new paradigm that we can age with great mental clarity using everything at our fingertips that we can. Those things are available today to a great degree and will continue to improve.
Wow, that is awesome that you are so involved in that. And you're right, that affects a lot of people. So, oh my goodness, that's exciting. Very exciting. So, what else have you been doing? What have you been up to? You just been sitting around? What?
Exactly. Well, we have our Champions for the Homeless program, which is now in its 17th year. Our next one is June 25th in Phoenix at St. Vincent de Paul. We just had a big meeting with Shannon Clancy and the team at St. Vincent de Paul about continuing to build it. We put a human face on the homeless in Phoenix that does not exist in California and Los Angeles, which is unfortunately suffering from in San Francisco, some of the worst examples, Seattle, some of the worst examples of homelessness. And rather than taking politics in that what never seems to be productive, I prefer to say if you treat people as human beings with individual unique stories, you tend to have impact that helps them come out of it with a sense of their responsibility, but also a feeling like they haven't been forgotten. And no one wants to feel forgotten or ignored. So that's a principle that applies in everything that I do. And with Alzheimer's, that's also the case. To work with the Border Patrol, with Chief Chris Clem and the National Chief, Raul Ortiz. I've been down to the border twice, and we just had a meeting in Washington at the national headquarters for the National Border Patrol because, as you know, if you've been watching the news at all, there's a huge crisis there. And there's a huge humanitarian crisis on both sides. The cartels have been given an economy of somewhere between $1 and $2 billion per month additional as they exact, shall we say, charges, which can involve some of the worst things done to minors and and to the people that want to find a way to compensate those that have become the controllers of who gets a chance to cross the border and who doesn't. There's nothing good about that, and it's created this Pandora's box in this country. That's not politics. That's just what's happening. And so those are people, the Border Patrol, who have endured 17 or 18 suicides, who are like police, like human beings. 5% probably of the human race are not the best people in the world. And those people shouldn't be in positions of authority over others. Having said that, 95% are doing the right thing, and they're sacrificing, putting their lives on the line. And, it's about a humanitarian paradigm for both the people trying to cross that represent 140 different countries. 90% of whom are not from Mexico, but it's also for the Border Patrol, who are completely outmanned, who have gone, for instance, to Southwest. These are actual statistics from 2.5 years ago. 25 people apprehended the 169-mile border in Yuma to Texas. That's, I believe, the section called Section 9 of the Border Patrol. And under Chris Clem, he saw that rise from 25 a day to 900 or 1,000 a day. And so they cannot be able to vet these people properly. So while maybe 3/4 of them are all coming for good reasons, if you will, or understandable reasons of oppression, of cruelty, of danger, of the worst kind of experience in their homelands, there are people that are coming through that are not good people, or some of the innocent people are being charged to do things like traffic fentanyl or facilitate human trafficking. And so there's another one for you. And then doing work on mental health with Copa Health. We just had a big webinar with an amazing human being, Lee Steinberg, my agent, who for a long time, Patrick Mahomes and Tua's agent with the Dolphins, and a guy named Tim Story, who has sort of become the comeback coach for people like Smokey Robinson, and he's worked with Robert Downey Jr., who's been on Oprah many times because he's helped bring a spiritual wisdom separate from Christianity, a spiritual emphasis, which all of us need as part of our strategy to stay mentally, physically emboldened, positive, confident, making a difference in the world, which always seems to entail, like you're doing today, not only doing something for yourself, but doing something for others, to spread wisdom. One of my favorite words, wisdom, wise, the kingdom of wisdom, the kingdom of wise. That's where we need to dwell. And so thanks for having me on today. It's every day there are opportunities to help people, whether it's one person or whether it's many. And I try to drill down to making sure I help that one person when I can. And I love it. I don't feel overwhelmed. I feel blessed, and to try to fit as much as I can in, and also have a little fun too.
Well, that's well said. And I am so glad you emphasize wisdom, because you are right. If we could ask for wisdom, and God says he would grant it very much so when we ask for it, that it would just change the world if we can walk wisely. But as we're growing in wisdom, you also mentioned something that I think is very important too, is surrounding yourself with people who walk in wisdom, such as Tim Story. And you have many others in your life throughout your career, right, that has really helped you along.
Well, I don't know why. I thank God for this, but I've had ridiculous mentors, and I've been spoiled being surrounded by people that either were daily mentors, like Dick Johnson, who told me this story when he met me, that he was going to coach me in kicking. He never coached kicking before, but he just knew that he could help me, especially mentally, manage my state in those moments of truth on the field and our moments of truth in life that really matter. And Dick told me the story that he was on his deathbed, and he was suffering from hepatitis, and he was pretty sure he was going to die. And this kid appeared at the foot of his bed and said, "Dick, you were there for me when we were 10 years old." And he was about almost 70 at this point. And the kid said, you were there for me when I was being beaten up, bullied every day. No one would stand up for me, but you did. And I'll never forget that. And I'm here for you today to say you're not going to die, to thank you and let you know you're not going to die. And so every moment after that, Dick was like God was in the room. And that every moment, every breath we have in life is important. But think about growing up next door to Justice Byron Whizzer White, Supreme Court Justice, who had just been approved to be Supreme Court Justice, U.S. Supreme Court Justice, who was close friends with John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy because he had been a Rhodes Scholar, because he was the best football player in the land. And when he was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, Joe Kennedy, the father of John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and the Kennedy clan, was the ambassador to England. So they became friends, and he became number 2 in the Justice Department under Bobby Kennedy and helped actually commandeer the buses for the marchers in Selma, Alabama, because he was the head of the U.S. Marshals at that point. So incredible story. That's my next door neighbor. But by the way, wait, there's more. He happened to lead the National Football League in rushing for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions in the 2 of the 3 years he played in the NFL. Had the biggest bonus ever from the Rooney family when he signed. I think it was a $15,000 bonus, which would be, probably 100 times that today. Wow. Or more. And just an amazing human being who would never, compared to some of the Supreme Court justices today, to be really frank, would never talk about anything he might rule on. And when I won the Byron Whizzer White Award, think about this. The top award given by the NFL Players Association in 1993 for about 20 years was the Justice Byron Whizzer White Award, named after him. And here's my next door neighbor, and I get to win the award named after him. But wait, there's more. The next year, 1994, now that he had retired in 1993, just by coincidence, good timing, the NFL Players Association, Dick Bertelsen, who was their vice president of legal, asked me if I would ask Justice White to present the award for the first and what became the only time at the Chicago Better Boys Foundation banquet. And so I got to ask him. He said he would. And he got to present this award. I introduced him and to present this in Chicago. We had a nice dinner party the night before. When I asked him, imagine this. He said he'd just come from swearing in Janet Reno. Remember, Janet Reno was the attorney general for Clinton. And when Bill Clinton called him and asked him if he would do that, he said he would under one condition, which was that he could wear his cowboy boots so that he wouldn't be shorter than Janet Reno, who was not a small woman. And those are the little anecdotes that bring some light and color to life. And then Zena, that's one next door neighbor who died about 20 years ago. If you look up the New York Times, just put in Google New York Times, Nick Lowery, Justice Byron White. There's a wonderful article by Ira Berkow, Berkow, about our relationship. Imagine that sort of what I call Mount Rushmore mentor in your life. So I've been spoiled that way. So what do you do with it? Do you just say, well, that's the way it should have been? Or do you say, God wants me to think bigger? And I think because of Mr. Johnson and because of Byron White, I had bigger goals than I might have had. And that's why I'm motivated when I do, as I have for 27 years, leadership programs for Native American youth or for inner city youth, for kids that didn't have that, because who does? To remember that, to remember they didn't have a Mount Rushmore figure every day to inspire them and to help them have more references to throw angel dust on them so that when they're ready, they will think bigger, they will make a better choice, etc. But remember this, it wasn't just Byron White. 16 years ago, maybe 17, so that would have been 2006, a guy named Muhammad Ali moved in 2 doors down from me in Cheney Estates. I can tell you where it was, Cheney Estates, just off of Indian Bend and off Cheney Road, off Scottsdale Road in Paradise Valley, right across from the border with Scottsdale itself. And I got to know this guy. I got to drive him personally to the NBA All-Star game, to walk with him into the NBA All-Stars locker room and watch people like LeBron and Aaron Iverson and Yao Ming, who's like 7'6", you know, and all these incredibly famous players act like little kids around him. And to sit 2-3 rows behind him with Beyonce and Jay-Z sitting next to him, those sorts of incredible experiences. But I will share this with you because they're words. So mentors help us with words. They help us with intentions. They help us to look at a better place and from a bigger perspective. They also help us with their actions, with their own quiet, wordless actions. So I asked the general manager of the Kansas City Royals if he'd like me to bring Muhammad Ali, because we had that kind of relationship, to a Royals game in spring training in Surprise, Arizona. And you live in Prescott, Arizona, so you may have gone to a spring training game or two. And so on the west side of town is Surprise, and the Royals share a stadium with the Texas Rangers. So I'm driving Muhammad Ali. I'm driving in his white Range Rover. He's next to me. And Marilyn Williams, his sister-in-law, the sister of his wife, Lonnie Ali, we're driving to Surprise. And I'm thinking, you know, just as I was when I drove him to the NBA All-Star game, don't crash. It'll be world news and you will be the worst and hated person in the world. And we get there and they are ready to go. It was so cool. They had Dayton Moore was the general manager for the Royals, and they had a double tiered golf cart with a jersey, a Royals jersey with Ali #1 on the back. And they drove us through the outfield wall in that stadium. It was packed. And I don't think anybody knew that Muhammad was coming. But as soon as we came through the wall, people recognized him immediately. And maybe I would say the most famous person in the world at that point. And historically so significant. And people stood up and cheered, and it was a movie. And then Joe Torre and the Los Angeles Dodgers came out of their dugout. George Brett and the Royals came out. They're both wearing different types of blue, right? And they're all surrounding him, just like the NBA All-Stars, just giddy to meet him. And so we sit behind home plate, front row, and I'm sitting next to Muhammad Ali. George Brett sitting on the other side of the fence with a chair, watching the batters. It was his role with the Royals. One of the greatest hitters of all time, incredible player. And behind me, literally right here, is Wayne Gretzky. So I've got the greatest, right? Muhammad Ali. Then I've got the great one, as Wayne Gretzky was called. And I've got one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Pretty cool stuff. But here's the story, okay? Here's the story where you watch how people are. I bought him a milkshake, which his sister-in-law didn't like, but he loved it. And at the 6th inning, we had to leave because his Parkinson's, if you remember, he had pretty significant Parkinson's. His drugs only lasted so long. So at the end of the 6th inning, we're driving out, and everybody stands, and it's just so powerful. We're driving around. I'm seeing 150 yards off. So we're approaching the white Range Rover, which is parked in the front row there by their offices in the stadium. And there are all these kids, like 20 kids standing there. Kids, anywhere 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and about 8 or 10 parents. And these were the parents of coaches and general managers and et cetera. And I'm so worried that it's going to overwhelm him. And I've heard this story. I heard this story several times. Here's a man whose soul, whose spirit, whose mind, whose everything about him was so focused on what mattered. And what mattered to him was love. Not about being a Muslim, not about being a Christian. It was about love. And he literally switched off the Parkinson's. He stopped shaking. And I have pictures. I wish I could share them with you now. But if you go on my Facebook page, which is Nick Lowery, Nick the Kick, and you go and you put on their albums and scroll down, you'll see pictures of him with kids on his lap and the most angelic smile. He was completely present. You know, one of the things you and I talked about in our mastermind with Tim Story and with some other great people was, of course, about life and being present in the moment. And he was completely present and loving with them. And just, I thought, what kind of human being? You know, he's exhausted. He's feeling his Parkinson's, and he goes, nope, I'm going to make these kids have a special moment they will never forget. And trust me, I don't know about you, but when I met professional athletes that were not nearly of the order, if you will, of Muhammad Ali, I remember all those details. But to remember Muhammad Ali, that is something that will stick with them the rest of their lives. And what they'll remember is his compassion, his love, his kindness, his smile. So I've had incredible role models. I've had Mount Rushmore role models like Muhammad Ali and Justice Byron Whizzer White. And then I've had people like Tim Story and Dick Johnson and Lee Steinberg. And that's the key as we get older. The wisdom is, and the intuition is to say, this person will be good for me. This person will bring out my best. And I will be committed to bringing out great things in them. And that vibration of incredibly powerful, congruent energy is the most powerful energy in the universe. That's the stuff that will guarantee. There are no guarantees. Life will always have adversity. But the guarantee is that the adversity will never be too much, that we will always have that extra gear to go to when we do that.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. And obviously the Lord had great plans for you, surrounded you by amazing, you're not talking just average Joe athletes, and you're talking top-notch people. So it is no wonder that you have become a legend in the NFL, and that is amazing. And here you are, so humble, giving back. I mean, you are constantly giving back. I see your posts all the time. You have such a big heart, Nick. And I know you were just in the Ukraine recently as well, right?
Oh my gosh. You know, life is short. And the older we get, the more we lose our loved ones. You know, I lost my brother, as I said, a little under 2 years ago, and I just lost a classmate. We had at Potomac School in McLean, we had a class of 39, and Tom Quiggle died just 3 days ago. You know, so what do we do with that? You know, do we make the most of it? So I was given this opportunity out of nowhere to join a group called Christians United for Israel, to go to Warsaw and Krakow, Poland, to visit the death camps at Auschwitz and Birkenau, to get steeped in the history of the Nazi occupation, domination, and extermination of the Jews, to understand how that happened, and to experience the history in those places as much as I could. And then most importantly, accompany 100 Ukrainian Jewish refugees to Israel, to a new home in Israel, having had their homes bombed or taken in Ukraine. And, you know, what a bucket list thing to do. I'd always wanted to go to Israel. My mother was the daughter of a British diplomat who helped found the Bank of Egypt. She was born in Cairo, grew up there her first 13 years. My grandmother, not my great-grandmother, listen to this, my grandmother, this is where you go, how is this possible? I still don't know how it's possible, was married in the Sudan in 1905, 118 years ago. And my mother lived in Egypt, and her brother, my uncle, Gerald, who was the only one of her three siblings to survive childhood, went on to India and became the assistant to the Viceroy of India, and who became the number 2 in Europe under Dwight Eisenhower. So incredible stories all there. So when I'm given the chance to go to Israel and to Poland and to do this with Sean Alexander, former NFL MVP in 2005, 28 touchdowns, if you know football, and Jay Feely, who's a first-rate announcer for CBS football, NFL football, and also was an excellent kicker in the NFL, along with joining 7 special ops guys who went with us to all these famous sites like Mossad in Israel. I mean, that was just an incredible experience, and it deepens your sense of the world. If I don't emphasize anything, I would emphasize that putting ourselves in learning opportunities is important. And the most organic way to learn is to travel and to learn the history and the challenges of culture, of values, of history, of conflict, and resolving conflict, hopefully, and the figures that overcome no matter what. And that's organically done by traveling, especially in the epicenter of so much history in the world, in Israel and the Middle East.
Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list, is to get over to Israel. But what an honor for you to have been able to participate in all of that. And I'd love to definitely hear more at some point. So I know you are such a busy guy, and so I so appreciate you being on here with the American Dream Makers. With the Champions for the Homeless, I want to make sure that people know. So that takes place what date, and where do they show up at?
Sunday, thank you. Sunday, June 25th at St. Vincent de Paul, which is 10th Avenue in Jackson. You have to go through the West 15th Avenue entrance, just a little under 2 blocks south of Washington, just north of the train tracks. If you go to my website, but more importantly, go to my Facebook page, I will be posting the 2 weeks leading up to that. So from June 10th on, you'll see things almost every day about it. But we'll have about 300 volunteers serving 1,000 homeless people. If you know anything about Phoenix or anything about homelessness, there's been an exponential increase in elderly homelessness and pediatric homelessness, and in homelessness of people that do not have significant mental health issues or drug issues. They simply lost a job and had a significant health issue usually, and suddenly they're punched out of the system and they've got nowhere to go. So what better way to put yourself in a good place than to letting people know, I see you, how are you, what's your story, how can I help? Just blessing them with respect and an open mind and heart. And even though we're serving 1,000 T-shirts and pairs of underwear and socks and 1,000 flowers and incredible musicians, my musicians are incredible, 2 chiropractors, 6 hair cutters, a lot of donated clothing, and we give away close to 1,000 $5 gift certificates to McDonald's and Starbucks, just as a gift to start a conversation. But the most important thing is that sense that they're seen, they're embraced, and you see profound transformations in a matter of moments when they go through the line and they come out and they realize everybody here sees me and values me. Everybody here hears me. And so all of those layers of pain and abuse and assault on their senses disappear, even if it's just for 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. It is a blessing. And of course, we all know when we give that blessing to other people, we're blessed back with a sense of, this is why I am here. Yeah. This is why I'm here. And if I do nothing else in my life, see how emotional I get?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than this. If you're missing that experience, come to Champions for the Homeless, because it's real and it's beautiful. We do it on Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. We'll do it 3 times in the summer. We went from once to twice to now 3 times in the summer. This one is June 25th. The next one will be in probably mid-August. And then the next one after that will be in late September, probably. That's really hot there. And people need to know they're not forgotten. So.
Oh, well, I so love your heart, your big heart, and your compassion for people, and your passion for going out there and helping. And so donations, if somebody can't be there physically, how do they get donations to you?
You know what? I'm going to give people I've got to put a picture of it on my website, but I'm wearing one for this purpose. So you can first of all go to nicklowry.org or nicklowry.com, nicklowry.com, or you can write nicklowryfoundation.org. That's fine. It just takes longer. And if any kind of donation, it's a write-off. There's a donate page. Obviously, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. But if you give $300, and today only, if you give $200, you will get, as long as you give me your address, you will get one of these Kansas City Chiefs World Champion necklaces. Now, you may be a fan of another team, but a lot of people love Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs, who are the dominant team in the NFL right now, and I think will be one of the dominant teams for a while. So that's just a way of saying thank you. And then if you make a donation of $50 or more, you'll get a Hall of Fame poster, which is really nice, personally autographed too. Just give me your address and we'll send it to you. And those are simple ways. I mean, it doesn't feel too bad for me when I'm writing a note, or let's say to Steven or to Patsy or whoever, saying thanks for caring, thanks for being a champion for the homeless. So thank you for asking. And once again, putting yourself in positions where you refresh the mind, which is really refreshing everything about what really matters. That's the best kind of aerobics. That's the best kind of fitness. It's spiritual fitness, which we need to do on a regular basis with intention. Just as you do this American Dream Makers podcast with intention, to say who are good people out there that we can learn from, surround ourselves with, so that our energy is always being buffeted with beautiful, warm vibration and thoughts and values and love.
Absolutely. You are so great with words, and you're so encouraging and so inspiring. You are definitely an American dream maker. I so appreciate you so much. I will make sure I get some of those links into the chat so that people can get a hold of you, because we want to make sure people can participate. Thank you once again, Nick.
Thank you, Zena. And because it was only 30 minutes, if you'd like, I'd be honored to do it again, maybe a couple weeks out from Champions for the Homeless, maybe around June 10th or so, or that week. And we can go into a little bit more detail and talk about other things that we didn't cover today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I will take you up on that. We'll figure something out. In the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye for now, so you can get back to doing all those awesome things.
You do. Thank you for all you do.
Bless you. You too. Thank you guys so much for being on here. And yes, please get out there to help the homeless on June 25th down in the Valley. I will get the information out so you can contact Nick. Please be sure to share this out, because we want to get as many people on board to help. And what an amazing, amazing organization to be out there helping our homeless. But for now, I will say goodbye. Have a good one.